In this video, we're going to talk about how to get a list of registered voters. Frankly, it's very easy and I'm going to tell you how to get it. But if the reason you want a list of registered voters is to use it in a political campaign, I'm going to tell you the right way and the wrong way to get one, where you can get one that is extremely valuable to you. Stick with me because I got a lot to share with you. We're going to start with places that you can get a list of registered voters. And the easiest place, if you're a candidate, is your local board of elections or your statewide board of elections. They keep those lists because they have to, because they got to keep track of who voted and who did not. So usually you can get those for free if you are a candidate, or a small fee. And if they won't cooperate with your request, you can call the leader of your local political party and they may be able to help you. Now, let me talk a little bit about ideally what you want to know when you get a list of registered voters, because not all boards of elections have this kind of information, and that's why I'm talking about it. Because in a political campaign, you don't want just a list of registered voters. You want a list of voters and their complete voting history, so you know who in the past has voted in general elections and primaries, how often they vote, how likely it is that they're going to show up to vote in the year that you are running for office. You want to know the party affiliation of everybody who is on that list, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or what we call a non-enrolled voter. You want to know their age, their registration date, their income level, their race, their ethnicity, whether they have children in the household, the education level of the people who live in that household. Ideally, you'll also want to know a little bit about their buying habits, their hobbies, and other lifestyle data. Now, the trouble, as I say, is not all boards of elections have this kind of information, and the trouble for you is if you do not have that information and you're running for office, you're leaving yourself at a competitive disadvantage when it comes to the way you advertise your message. Where do you go to find that kind of information? Well, there are 3 firms that I know of that specialize in this. One of them is called DataZap. One of them is called Aristotle. Another industry leader is L2 Data. If you have trouble finding those names when you Google them, leave a comment below and I will send the link to you. You can examine what they have to offer, the kind of way they're willing to enhance the data file that you're asking for, but I no longer rely on just boards of elections to give me the information that I need to properly advise a candidate. I nearly always go to one of these 3 private firms. Will it cost you a little bit of money? Yes, it will. Are you better off? Yes. This is a very, very important purchase if you want to run for office, and it's a set of data that you really need. Now let's talk about how to use the data once you have it. And I'm going to divide this into the macro and the micro. Why the macro? Well, if you've asked for this list in a statewide campaign and you're going to use it for commercial advertising, you need to have some idea where people live. You need to know the party affiliation of the people in that particular area. You need to know the percentage of people who should be part of your electoral base, the people who are swing voters, and the people who are probably not going to vote for you if you're not running on the party that they prefer. This is called macro messaging for this reason. You will have in your campaign an umbrella message. Your main rationale for running, or the bio ad that you put up, or whatever it is that you want to tell people. You can't niche market in that kind of environment using commercial because the time allowed to talk doesn't allow for niche marketing. So that's the first reason you need it, is because you need some sense of the voters that you need to reach with your macro message to not only get your base vote, but to convince the middle of the road voters and the people who could swing in either direction. You need to reach them so they make up their mind to vote for you instead of your opponent. Let's talk about the micro messaging. The invention of social media and the way it works, the ability to advertise on social media, has revolutionized politics all over the United States and around the world, because it enables you to finally target certain segments of the electorate with an issue that is very, very important to them that may not be interesting to all of the voters in your universe. For example, if you're targeting seniors and you want to get a specific message to them on Facebook or some other tool that you're using, and you think their concerns are about the cost of prescription drugs or preserving Social Security or making sure that Medicare is well funded, that's not necessarily a message that you would want to send to somebody who's 25 years old. If you know the age of the people who are on your list, you can target them a message on Facebook that directly addresses concerns that they have. Well, their concerns are not the same concerns that younger voters might have. So those of middle age that you might want to reach, especially those with children in the household, you might want to talk to them about the quality of the schools and the quality of teachers teaching their children and how schools should be safer. This database gives you the ability to finally target audiences that you can know only because you have that database. It is gold if you have it. A list of registered voters is worthless to you if you don't. That's why you need this data, and that is how you use it. The final thing I'll mention here, a good database that you purchase from a private vendor ideally will have landlines, cell phones, and valid email addresses. So when you're fine-tuning your get out the vote effort and you really want to reach individuals at the micro level, if you have their cell phone number, you can text them and remind them that the election is coming and this is where you can go vote. You can send them persuasion messages through texting. If you can send them emails, lots of people still open their emails, and if you've got a nice pithy subject line, they will open it and read what you have shared in your email. If you have landline phones, you can target them with landlines and volunteers to call them personally. This is essential to a get out the vote operation. It's getting your voters to vote. It's persuading those in the middle to vote for you instead of your opponent. It is a great way to reach them. And if you don't have that information on what you got from the Board of Elections, your opponent is going to have an advantage over you. So these are the fundamentals of why you don't want just a list of registered voters, why you want a very detailed profile of your entire jurisdiction with lots of data that you can use to intelligently prosecute an advertising campaign. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I have a free gift for you, and the title of it is How to Run a Grassroots Campaign. The better data you have, the easier it is to do that. Click that link and watch it, because it has more ways that you can use this data that I talked about.